Presented by Listen Headlines, latest world news from trusted sources. Updating daily at 6 a.m. New York.
RT World News.
October 29, 5:11 America, New York. NATO chief explains why Russia must not be allowed to win in Ukraine. Moscow's victory would be a catastrophe for Kiev and bad for the West. Jens Stoltenberg warns the U.S. should continue supporting Ukraine because a Russian victory in the conflict would empower China, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said.
Mirror World News.
October 29, 5:05 America, New York. Halloween outfits banned on Japan trains after Joker went on knife rampage. On Halloween last year, a man clad in a purple suit, green shirt and necktie, carried out a knife rampage, stabbing an elderly woman, before setting the train carriage alight.
New York Times World News.
October 29, 5 o'clock America, New York. Brazil confronts a momentous Bolsonaro versus Lula election. Brazilians head to the polls on Sunday in an election between two political heavyweights that could have global repercussions. Brazil's far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, faces a tough challenge from a former president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who vows to return to a leftist track.
New York Times World News. October 29, 4:26 America, New York. At least 45 dead as Nalgae makes landfall in the Philippines. Severe tropical storm Nalgae made landfall early Saturday and was expected to continue bringing strong winds and torrential rain to large areas of the country through the weekend. The aftermath of a landslide, which was set off by the heavy rains of Nalgae, on Friday in the town of Parang in the Philippines.
BBC News World.
October 29, 3:44 America, New York. Maurice Hastings, U.S. man in prison for 38 years freed by new DNA evidence. Maurice Hastings was wrongfully convicted of murder and repeated requests for DNA testing were denied.
BBC News World.
October 29, 3:19 America, New York. British-Nigerian artist Dylema paints African women using gold. A British-Nigerian artist is using pure gold to paint portraits depicting the stories of African diaspora women.
Washington Post World.
October 29, 1 o'clock America, New York. Mass shooting in Belgorod exposes Russia's forced mobilization of migrants. Some migrants in Russia have been swept into the ranks of the Russian military despite having no obligation to serve.
Fox World News.
October 29, 0:43 America, New York. Welsh task force to manage feral goats after flocking to region during COVID lockdown. A Welsh town has decided to establish a task force to manage the feral goats that have been occupying a town in the region since the early days of the pandemic.
CNN World News.
October 29, 0:43 America, New York. Guns, God and fake news dominate Brazil's presidential race. The thundering sound of gunfire reverberates through a room during a seemingly endless barrage.
New York Times World News.
October 29, 0:39 America, New York. Australians come home after years in ISIS detention camp. Dozens more Australians, many of them children, are still being held in Syria, but there is hope that the government will soon sponsor more releases. A scene at Al Hol detention camp in Kurdish-controlled northern Syria in 2019.
BBC News World.
October 28, 2313 America, New York. Philippines storm Nalgae kills dozens in floods and mudslides. Tropical storm Nalgae wreaks havoc in the southern Philippines and will soon lash Manila.
Washington Post World.
October 28, 2221 America, New York. UN urges Libya rivals to agree in roadmap to elections soon. The UN Security Council has voted unanimously to extend the UN political mission in Libya for a year.
Mirror World News.
October 28, 2206 America, New York. Retreating Russians, trying to create no man's land, in Kherson, says Zelensky. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said that retreating Russian forces were stealing medical equipment and trying to make the Kherson region, in southern Ukraine, uninhabitable.